The advice given to people with diabetes about fruit is a mess. A genuine, contradictory, confusing mess. And it is not your fault if you do not know what to believe. I have worked with seniors managing blood sugar for years, and I hear the same three stories again and again. The first patient tells me their nutritionist said fruit is basically sugar and they should treat it like candy, avoid it almost entirely. The second patient heard from a wellness influencer that fruit is natural sugar, so it does not count. Eat as much as you want. The third patient read a headline saying tropical fruits are dangerous, but did not see anything about which ones or why or how much. Three completely different answers, all from people claiming authority. No wonder you are paralyzed. And what happens because of that paralysis is deeply concerning to me as a physician. Some seniors have stopped eating fruit entirely. They are missing fiber, vitamins, and protective compounds their bodies genuinely need to fight the complications of diabetes. Others are eating fruit freely with no strategy at all, then checking their glucose numbers and wondering why they keep climbing despite eating what they thought was healthy. Neither group has been given the real tools to make confident decisions. That changes today. My name is Dr. Michael Williams, and I am going to walk you through the 10 best fruits for people managing blood sugar and the 5 fruits that demand serious caution. Not based on guesswork or fear, based on the science of how each fruit actually behaves inside your body. We are going to be specific. We are going to be honest. And by the end of this video, you are going to feel like you finally have a clear map where there was only confusion before. But I want to say something first, and I need you to actually hear it.
There is no fruit on this planet that I am going to tell you can never touch your lips again. Not one. That kind of absolute thinking leads to failure, obsession, and eventually giving up entirely. What I believe in is understanding. When you understand how a food behaves, you stop fearing it and start managing it. That is a
Completely different and far more powerful way to live with diabetes. Before we get into the list, I need to give you 2 tools, because without these tools, the list is just a list. With these tools, you will understand the why behind every single item, and you will be able to apply this logic to foods I have not even mentioned. The first tool is the glycemic index, or GI. Think of this as a measure of speed. Specifically, how fast does the sugar from a particular food enter your bloodstream after you eat it? A GI above 70 means sugar hits your blood like a sudden wave. Your glucose spikes sharply, your pancreas panics and floods your system with insulin, and your body enters reactive mode. A GI below 55 means the sugar enters slowly, smoothly, like a gentle tide. That is what we want for blood sugar management. The second tool is glycemic load, or GL, and this one is critically underused, even by many health professionals. If GI is speed, GL is total volume. It tells you how much sugar actually lands in your bloodstream when you eat a realistic serving of that food. A GL under 10 is generally considered safe for people managing blood sugar. A GL above 20 is a serious red flag that demands real caution. Here is the rule I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life. When choosing fruit for blood sugar management, you want both low GI and low GL. One without the other is incomplete information. A food might have a high GI, but a very low GL because there simply is not much sugar in a realistic serving. Or a food might have a moderate GI, but a very high GL because a typical portion delivers a large total sugar load. You need both numbers to make an informed decision. And one more thing before we dive into the list. I am going to hold everything to the same standard weight, roughly 4 ounces or 120 grams. That way we are comparing reality to reality, not a tiny handful to a massive bowl. Let us go through the 10 fruits that help control blood sugar, counting up to the one I recommend most. Number 10 is plums. Plums do not get the attention they deserve. With a GI of 39 and a GL of just 5, they sit comfortably in the safe zone. If you want something naturally sweet that will not ambush your glucose levels, a plum is a trustworthy choice. They are also rich in vitamin C, and contain compounds that support liver function, which matters more than most people realize for those managing insulin sensitivity. Your liver plays a central role in glucose regulation, and supporting its health is an often overlooked part of diabetes management. Number 9 is pears. A perfectly ripe pear has a GI of 38 and a GL of 4. Excellent numbers. But here is what I want you to notice about pears specifically. The fiber is not evenly distributed throughout the fruit. A large portion of it is concentrated just beneath the skin. If you peel your pear before heating it, you are peeling away a significant portion of the protective fiber that slows sugar absorption. Eat it whole, skin on. That fiber acts as a physical barrier in your digestive tract that slows the release of sugar into your blood. Never throw that protection away. Number 8 is apples. GI of 36, GL of 6. You already know apples are good for you, but let me be more specific about why they are particularly valuable for people with diabetes. Apples contain a soluble fiber called pectin. Pectin does not just slow sugar absorption, it also acts in your digestive tract to help reduce LDL cholesterol, your bad cholesterol. For a person with diabetes, cardiovascular risk is the number one long-term concern. Heart disease kills more people with diabetes than any other complication. Eating an apple with its skin is doing two jobs at once, managing blood sugar and protecting your heart. Never underestimate the humble apple. Number 7 is passion fruit. GI of 27, GL of 5. Those are remarkable numbers. Passion fruit is one of the most blood sugar-friendly fruits in existence, and most people have never considered adding it to their regular rotation. Here is the bonus that makes it especially interesting for seniors. Passion fruit contains natural
Compounds with a mild sedative effect that supports deeper, more restorative sleep. And why does a diabetes discussion care about sleep? Because poor sleep directly worsens insulin resistance.
One single night of poor sleep can raise your fasting glucose the next morning as if you had eaten poorly. Passion fruit is not just a snack, it is a nighttime strategy that addresses two problems simultaneously. Number 6 is oranges. And I need you to stop here for a moment because what I am about to say has more practical impact on your daily blood sugar than almost anything else in this entire video. A whole orange, eaten with all its segments intact, has a GI of 40 and a GL of 5. Safe, nutritious, genuinely beneficial for someone managing blood sugar. But drinking orange juice is not the same thing. They are not the same food. They are not interchangeable. Think about your own morning for a second. If you pour yourself a glass of orange juice, maybe you use 2 or 3 oranges to fill that glass. Now, ask yourself honestly, would you ever sit down and eat 3 whole oranges in one sitting? Probably not. You would eat one, feel satisfied, and stop. But in juice form, those 3 oranges go down in under a minute, and you barely notice it happened. The fiber that would have slowed everything down is gone, left behind in the pulp. What reaches your bloodstream is essentially a concentrated wave of sugar. The GL of that glass climbs above 20, which is the red zone. This is one of those moments where the healthiest seeming habit is quietly working against you. Fresh squeezed, organic, no added sugar, and still a problem for blood sugar management. Because it is not about what was added, it is about what was removed. The fiber was removed, and the fiber is the protection. Eat your orange. Do not drink it. Number 5 is kiwi. GI of 38, GL of 9. Kiwi earns its place here for 2 reasons. The obvious one is that it is genuinely low in its glucose impact. The second reason is what makes it particularly valuable for people with diabetes specifically. Kiwi is dense in antioxidants, particularly vitamin C and vitamin E together, which have been shown in studies to help reduce blood pressure. Why does that matter here? Because approximately 2/3 of people with type 2 diabetes also develop high blood pressure. Managing both conditions simultaneously through food choices is enormously valuable, and kiwi lets you fight on 2 fronts at once. Number 4 is strawberries. GI of 41, GL of just 3. That GL of 3 puts strawberries among the safest fruits you can eat for blood sugar management. But the real story of strawberries is in a class of pigment molecules called anthocyanins. These are the compounds that give strawberries their deep red color, and they are among the most potent cardiovascular protectors available through food. The blood vessels that feed your heart, kidneys, and eyes are the structures most at risk as diabetes progresses over time. Anthocyanins directly support the integrity of those vessels. Eat strawberries frequently, not just as an occasional treat. They should be a regular part of your weekly rotation. Number 3 is guava, GI of 23, GL of 3. I want you to notice that GI of 23. That is extraordinarily low. For context, white bread sits at around 75. A guava and a slice of white bread could not be more different in how they treat your blood sugar. And they can cost similar amounts at the grocery store. I also want to knock down a myth right here that has genuinely scared people away from fruit they should be eating. The claim is that fructose, the natural sugar found in fruit, damages the liver, and therefore all fruit is dangerous for diabetics. This is false, and it needs to be said clearly and unambiguously. Fructose becomes harmful when it arrives in concentrated form, as in sodas, corn syrup, and processed juices. The liver processes concentrated fructose in a way that promotes fat storage and insulin resistance over time. But the fructose naturally present in a whole guava arrives alongside fiber, water, vitamins, and polyphenols that completely change the metabolic picture. Your liver is not treating a guava the same way it treats a can of soda. Do not let fear of a word keep you from a genuinely health supporting food. Number 2 is peaches, GI of 42, GL of 4. Peaches are one of the most forgiving fruits in existence for people managing blood sugar. Sweet enough to satisfy a craving, low enough in glycemic impact to be a genuine safe harbor. And I want to use this moment to answer a question I receive constantly. Does this list apply to pre-diabetics, to type 1, to someone newly diagnosed with type 2? The answer is yes to all of them. The principles here serve anyone with any form of blood glucose management challenge. They are not exclusive to advanced diabetes. They are simply good science. And number 1 is fresh cherries, GI of 27, GL of 6. As close to perfect numbers as you will find anywhere in the fruit world. But I want to emphasize the word fresh, because there is a version of cherries that is the exact opposite of what I am recommending. Those bright, artificially colored cherries preserved in syrup, the ones used to decorate desserts and cocktails, they have been sitting in concentrated sugar for months. They bear essentially no relationship to fresh cherries. Stay far from those. Fresh cherries, in addition to their remarkable glycemic profile, contain anthocyanins and other anti-inflammatory compounds that research has linked to reduced vascular inflammation. And vascular inflammation is one of the primary drivers of the cardiovascular complications that diabetes can cause over decades. If there is one fruit I would most want to see in a diabetic patient's kitchen every single week, it is fresh cherries. That completes the top 10. But now I need you to concentrate even more closely, because what comes next is where many people make quiet, consistent mistakes without ever realizing it. These are not obviously dangerous fruits. They show up in wellness plans, smoothie recipes, and hospital cafeterias. They have good reputations. And for someone managing blood sugar, that good reputation is exactly what makes them so easy to underestimate. I call these the high-stakes fruits. Not forbidden, not poison, but demanding. Eating them carelessly is like driving on a wet road at high speed. You might be fine, but the margin for error is much smaller than you think. Number 5 on the caution list is papaya, GI of 58, GL of 10. Papaya is genuinely useful for digestion because it contains papain, an enzyme that helps break down proteins and can relieve bloating. But for someone with diabetes, the digestive benefit and the glucose impact arrive together. At a GL of 10, papaya is sitting right at the boundary of what is considered safe. If you eat papaya, keep portions small. Eat it alongside protein or healthy fat to buffer the sugar absorption, and do not make it a daily staple. Number 4 is pineapple, GI of 59, GL of 14. Pineapple is refreshing and has built an impressive wellness reputation through claims about fat burning and detoxification. Some of those claims have scientific support through an enzyme called bromelain, but your pancreas does not know about pineapple's reputation. It only knows about the sugar load. And at a GL of 14, pineapple delivers a substantial glucose challenge. Half a cup maximum, not a bowl, not as a freebie because it seems healthy. Number 3 is mango, GI of 56, GL of 14. Mango is beloved around the world, and I completely understand why. The taste is extraordinary. But I want to address a very specific mistake I see constantly. Some people believe that if you add chia seeds or flax seeds to a mango smoothie, you have made it safe for blood sugar. I have to be honest with you. That is a trap. Here is what is actually happening. The seeds slow down the rate at which sugar enters your blood. That is the glycemic index effect, slower absorption. But the glycemic load, the total volume of sugar your body has to process, is completely unchanged. Your pancreas still has to deal with every single gram of that mango sugar. You have just stretched the timeline, not reduced the burden. Think of it like owing money. Someone offers to let you pay in smaller installments instead of one lump sum. The debt does not shrink. You are still paying every cent. Do not use superfoods as permission slips for portion discipline. They do not work that way. Number 2 is bananas. GI of 62, GL of 16. Bananas are everywhere. They are cheap, portable, familiar, and genuinely nutritious. But look at that GL of 16. That is a significant blood sugar load. If you want to eat bananas, follow 2 rules. First, choose ones that are just ripe, with some green still visible in the peel. A banana covered in brown spots has already converted most of its resistant starch into fast-acting sugar. The riper the banana, the higher the glycemic impact. Second, eat half, not the whole thing, and eat it alongside protein to buffer the glucose response. And number 1 on the caution list, the fruit that tops it for a reason that goes beyond chemistry, is grapes. GI of 61, GL of 12. The problem with grapes is not just in the numbers. It is in what happens every single time a person sits down with a bunch of them. You plan to eat 5. You eat one, then another, then another. The small size creates the feeling that nothing significant is happening. And before you register it, you have eaten 20 or 25 grapes and consumed the sugar equivalent of a candy bar. If you want grapes, count them out before you eat a single one. Set your number at 10 and stop there. Never eat directly from the bunch. Before we close, I need to warn you about 2 dangers more serious than any individual fruit on either list. The first is dried fruit. Raisins, dried apricots, dried mango, dried cranberries. Think about what drying a fruit actually does. You remove the water. That is it. But water is precisely what dilutes the sugar in whole fruit. Remove the water, and the sugar stays, now compressed into a tiny volume. A small handful of raisins carries the glycemic load of multiple whole grapes. Their GL regularly exceeds 30. For people managing blood sugar, dried fruit is not fruit. It is concentrated sugar with a health halo. Treat it accordingly. The second danger is ripeness. As fruit ripens, starches inside convert to sugars through a continuous, predictable chemical process. A banana that is slightly green contains substantial resistant starch that absorbs slowly and actually feeds beneficial gut bacteria. The same banana left to develop brown spots has converted most of that starch into glucose and fructose that absorb rapidly. Same fruit, same size, potentially very different blood sugar outcome, depending entirely on when you eat it. Choose fruit at peak ripeness or just before. Do not wait until it is soft and excessively sweet. I want to speak to you directly for a moment. I read comments from people managing diabetes every single day. And beneath the questions about glycemic indices and medication names, I hear something else. I hear exhaustion. I hear people who have received so many contradictory instructions from so many different voices that they have stopped trusting their own judgment entirely. People who feel like every food choice is either quietly saving them or slowly destroying them. That is an exhausting way to move through the world, and I want you to know that I see it. Here is what I also know. Trying to change everything about the way you eat in 1 week is the most reliable path to changing nothing permanently. Radical overhauls feel powerful in the first few days. They rarely last beyond 2 weeks. Small, specific, consistent changes are what actually move the needle over months and years. So here is what I am asking you to do tomorrow. Just tomorrow. Not a new lifestyle, not a complete overhaul, just one thing. Look at your breakfast. Breakfast determines your glucose trajectory for the entire day. A high sugar breakfast creates a cascade of cravings, reactive hunger, and elevated glucose that can follow you through to dinner. A stable breakfast changes the arc of the whole day. If you currently start with sweetened cereal, white toast, fruit juice, or a blended fruit smoothie, try this instead. 2 eggs, any style, and one fruit from the top 10 list, eaten whole. A peach, a handful of strawberries, a couple of plums. Nothing complicated, nothing expensive. The protein from the eggs slows everything down and keeps you full. The fiber from the whole fruit does the same. Give it 5 days and pay attention to what your body tells you. Managing diabetes is not a war against food. It is a project of understanding. The more precisely you understand how the foods you love behave inside your body, the more freedom you actually have. Not less freedom, more. If this video gave you a clear map where there was only confusion, please subscribe. I share new content every week for seniors navigating their health with confidence. And if someone in your life is managing blood sugar and struggling to make sense of all the noise around fruit, share this video with them today. I am Dr. Michael Williams. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.